This is the all-new N7 electric sedan, and it's hiding quite a secret underneath that Nissan badge. You see, while the branding is all Japan, the platform underneath was co-developed with Dongfeng Motor. Who is Dongfeng Motor? Dongfeng Motor, or DFM, is their longtime Chinese joint venture partner. And this same platform also underpins a bunch of different models from Dongfeng Motor, including their E-Pi 007 sedan, as well as the four-thing Xinghai S7. Are you telling me you've never heard of the E-Pi 007 or the four-thing Xinghai S7? It's probably because they're only sold here in China, and sales aren't exactly stellar. Not so for the N7, which got off to a much better start when they managed to get 20,000 firm orders within the first 50 days. But enough preamble. Let's see what those 20,000 people found so appealing. For starters, you get exterior styling that is, at least in the context of the Chinese car market, terminally generic. It's pleasing to the eye, but it disappears on Chinese roads. Of course, that matters a lot less when you realize that they're offering a sedan that's bigger than a Nissan Altima with a fully electric powertrain for just $17,000 to $21,000 US. Not only is that competitive with other foreign cars in this segment, what few there are, it's also competitive against the many Chinese competitors in this segment. And it shows that there's finally a foreign brand that's waking up to the realities of the insane price war here in the Chinese car market. One thing we know for sure, though, is that there's no way it's going to be that cheap when they export it abroad. After hearing that price, I suddenly felt compelled to look a little bit more closely at this generic styling. And credit where credit is due, there are some nice details to be found. For example, this headlight unit down here, which actually includes an LED grid. The same can be said for the rear taillight design, which includes some very nice detailing you don't normally see on cars this affordable. I mentioned earlier that this car is about the same size as a Nissan Altima, actually a little bit bigger, but that was referring to the overall length. When it comes to cargo space, it's actually noticeably smaller than a Nissan Altima at 484 liters. It's much closer in size to smaller Chinese electric vehicles such as the BYD Qin L. The Nissan N7's interior has adopted some, but not all of the trappings of a Chinese electric vehicle. I'm talking about the fact that it does have a minimalist layout with things like this smooth one-piece center console. In order to make it have cup holders, you gotta press them down like that. But they did keep some design. It's not all smooth shapes. Look here on the door, this stitching as well as the pattern in the plastic here, which is lit by the overhead lights right there in the door panel. You've also got a minimum of physical buttons. In fact, there's really no physical buttons here on the center console. Everything is controlled through the screen, but I want to give them credit for having big, beautiful physical buttons on the steering wheel. So nice to see. But it hasn't just adopted the looks of a Chinese EV, it's also adopted a lot of the smart features, including a standard 15.6-inch 2.5K center screen. Remember, that's standard on even the car that costs $17,000. Unlike a lot of Chinese EVs, it also comes with CarPlay. The operating system on this car is far better than I've come to expect from non-Chinese brands, except for maybe Tesla. For example, it's snappy, it's got an 8155 Qualcomm Snapdragon chip, or if you upgrade to the higher level driver assistance system, which we'll talk about later in the video, you get an 8295 chip. But the snappiness is only the beginning. It's also some of the details. For example, the way that when you go from the main menu to the navigation app, the little car, shrinks down and then becomes the car there. And when you go back, it does the same thing. In digging through the menu, I've also discovered that they have smart devices, much like Xiaomi does with their cars, and honestly at this point an increasing number of Chinese brands are doing. This allows you to control things like your home air conditioning or your smart lights, and it even has an available multi-use button just like we saw in the Xiaomi YU7. Another more hidden feature that I'm guessing a lot of N7 owners don't even know about is back here behind your little digital rendering of the car. If we spin around, there's a glowing spot on the screen right here. If we press it, this is where we can enter a series of different interior modes. For example, this is a relaxation mode here where I can listen to the sound of a rainforest. an ocean, or even some Mongolian grasslands. That one's actually very quiet. You can't hear anything in that one. But anyways, there are a bunch of different, these different modes, including a nap mode, all this stuff. What I think is funny is that they've hidden it in this like really hard to find area back here. I'm not really sure why they did that. Of course, it's not all candy canes and butterflies in here. There are some issues. I'm not sure whether to blame this on Nissan or on their partners at Dongfeng, but there are some weird things about the menu logic. For example, you hit this car button here and it gives you most of your menu options when it comes to the car. But if you want to adjust things like your display or your sound or the connections like Bluetooth, it's a separate settings button, which doesn't make sense to me. Other menus put them together, which seems much easier. Then there's the voice assistant. In many ways, it is so much better than the ones available from other foreign brands. I'm talking about all of them: Ford, General Motors products, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Honda, Toyota, whatever. They stink. Their voice command systems in China, they mostly stink. But this one can do a lot more than them. At the same time, there's some things it can't do that I really would expect it to be able to do. For example, if I ask it to adjust the exterior mirrors in Chinese, 你好日产，调节车外后视镜. It doesn't know to do that. It doesn't open the menu to do that, which every other system basically does. And its response almost always is to open up DeepSeek AI, which it's integrated, and start giving me a bunch of useless points that I can do. All right, go away. But if you use the voice commands, it will fold the exterior mirrors or open them. Why? Why not both? Speaking of AI, in the seat menu, there is a mode that's like an AI mode where it will automatically adjust the seat, allegedly, to your body. In my experience, when I hit it, it basically just extends the leg rest out a little bit. Doesn't really do very much more. It doesn't, for example, increase lumbar support, which is what I actually care about. Still, if you want to physically adjust the seats in this car, that's not a problem. You can do that manually, and there's a lot of adjustments. In addition to the obvious ones, forward and back, rake, and the aforementioned leg extension or seat bottom extension, you've also got adjustable lumbar support and adjustable bolsters, which I don't think I've ever seen at this price point. I also discovered another issue with this like AI seat adjustment system. When I picked up the car, it needed to be reset somehow. I had to have somebody from the dealership come out and follow the instructions in the owner's manual to like move the seat all the way this way, then all the way that way or whatever for it to reset. Otherwise, I wasn't even able to manually adjust the seat via the center screen here. That was weird. Now the same thing is happening over here on the passenger side. In order to switch to the manual mode, it gives me this thing that pops up and says like, we can't do it. You have to go to the owner's manual and reset the system. That's not convenient. You can always use the buttons on the side, but it's kind of stupid not to be able to use your quote manual adjusting buttons here on the center screen because of the dumb AI thing. Of course, if you're gonna compete here in the Chinese car market by selling a $21,000 electric sedan, it's not enough to have heated, cooled, massaging seats, a 15.6-inch 2.5K screen. You've also got to have a refrigerated and heated central storage compartment. The first thing you will notice upon getting in the back seat of the N7 is just how much higher it is than the front row. Just to give you a visualization, this is just about where the seat bottom on the front row is in comparison to the rear. It's like being in the back seat of a large SUV, not a sedan. The upside of that is that you have a really comfortable seating position back here because there's not this huge gap between your legs and the seats, which are also very long by the standards of this class and very soft. I mean, very soft and nice. Leg room, pretty decent. There's not a space to put your feet under the front seats, but because of the support that you get from the seat bottom, you don't really have that instinct to spread your legs or really extend your legs out like you do in some other cars. In terms of headroom, well, I'm 1.75 meters or 5'9" inches tall, so plenty of space for me. No doubt the thickness of these seats rather, and the height of them does compromise that a bit, but not for someone my height. I also want to take a second to point out the material quality inside of this car. Now, this is obviously the most expensive top spec, which is still $21,000, and you get this faux leather and ultra suede all over the seats. It's very nice and very grippy. The electric powertrain in the N7 is distinctly down to earth. There are two front-mounted electric motors available. Both of them are supplied by Dongfeng Motor, with one making 160 kilowatts and one making 200 kilowatts. There's no official 0 to 100 km/h time provided by Nissan, but the seat of the pants meter says somewhere at or below 7 seconds. That power is doled out very conservatively, and it's hard to get the kind of neck-snapping acceleration that I've become used to, even on electric cars with this power level. Instead, it comes on very smoothly and very progressively, just like a well-tuned engine and transmission. Obviously, this is meant to mimic a well-tuned engine and transmission and appeal to more traditional ICE vehicle buyers. Basically, Nissan's traditional buyers. People who are coming from a Sentra or an Altima and don't want the feeling that comes with many electric cars. That smooth power delivery might also contribute to this car's efficiency. Now, there are two battery packs available, a 58 kilowatt-hour LFP pack with a claimed CLTC range of 525 kilometers and a larger 73 kilowatt-hour pack with a claimed range of 635 kilometers. Just for context, a $30,000 2025 Nissan Leaf, that's $30,000 in the US of course, has a 40 kilowatt-hour pack with a claimed EPA range of around 230-240 kilometers. Even if we assume that the CLTC range is optimistic, and it is, you're still getting a whole lot more for your money over here. So how does it drive? After all, that is the thing that everyone says legacy automakers still do better than Chinese brands, simply because they have more experience with things like suspension tuning. I think it drives quite well. It doesn't drive exactly like other Nissans that I've driven. For example, the Altima feels, well, a little softer than this car, a little bit better damped. This one lets in more vibrations than the Altimas that I've driven, but it's not uncomfortable. The steering is very direct, but there's little to no sensation as to what those front wheels are doing from behind the wheel. Overall, it drives like a, how shall I put it, commuter sedan. But while this car's power figures and driving experience didn't exactly blow my mind, its driver assistance features did. Because while I've come to expect things like city and highway NOA from Chinese cars at this price point, I definitely don't expect them from legacy automakers. One important note is that I did not get to try out the City NOA because it is a memory-based system. You can't just turn it on and have it follow the navigation to anywhere you want. You have to drive a route at least once or maybe multiple times in order for it to memorize all the features of the route to then be able to drive it via the NOA or navigation on autopilot system. I didn't have the car long enough to do that, so I can't tell you whether or not that system is as impressive as I would hope it would be, or as impressive as the highway system was. But still, the fact that they're even offering that kind of system at all is a real step for legacy automakers like Nissan. Ultimately, I think this car shows the way forward for legacy automakers like Nissan, at least in the short and medium term. And it shows that Chinese buyers are willing to, and in fact want to buy cars from legacy automakers if they can provide them a product that they want at a price that they can afford. They can do that if they work with their Chinese partners the way that Nissan did with Dongfeng, because after all, right now, Chinese companies are the ones that are producing the leading electric vehicle architectures and the leading smart cockpits and driver assistance systems. That's going to do it for today's review of the Nissan N7. If you want to learn more about Chinese cars or cars from international brands that are only available in China, be sure to check us out on social media, links in the description below. And as always, like, subscribe, and hit that bell.